Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 23. This is episode 34. In a close vote, 6 to 4 against, we will not see a change to wind tunnel times in the future. This is a no-go. I'm happy with that because it was very much catered to making the top teams stronger and the bottom teams weaker. That's not what we want to see. With the focus already on next year's car, we're not having to produce quite as many parts this season. It's helping us with the finances in the short term. We're making decent enough money to go ahead and get our next upgrade on the way. Of course, it's the car development facilities where we really need it, right? To get the car out of the back end of the grid. We made some real progress this year. That's now been negated. We're back down into the bottom end of the grid for the second half of the season, which means pacing wise, the second half of this season is going to go a lot faster. We're going to try to get some episodes in with 3 races as best we can, especially if we are struggling towards the back end. We'll just kind of get right in and get right on with it. The wind tunnel, temporary shutdown just after it was done upgrading. It's temporary. It should be up and running again in a few days, but it's not helping us with our research projects at the moment. Suspension simulator is nearly done. 11 more days till that is done. But the car part test center definitely needs an upgrade. The factory is in terrible shape and needs an upgrade, but I'm going to go ahead and go with the CFD simulator because it also needs refurbishing, and we have enough with 15 million to go ahead and make that upgrade, and that's going to make a significant difference in that time, in that simulator time that we have, and helping us make progress with the car. A day later, we have the resolution on our wind tunnel. It's fixed. We can also now see on race day just how far off we are compared to the rest of the grid. We are well below grid average now across the board in everything. Average is what it was taking to get us near the points, but you can see that we're just not there anymore. We are now 15th with power. We are 10th, 15th, 13th, so let's average that out to about 13th in quartering. And we are 15th in the cooling department as well. So overall, average all that out, we're about 13th on what we could produce on a daily basis, but we have a driver who's certainly below average, making mistakes these days. Is that because he's lost confidence in the car, so he's losing confidence in himself? Could be, because for a long time when we were competing for points, he was consistently there, kept his head down, was not making mistakes. The moment the car is not good enough to score points, he's suddenly riddled with mistakes lately. One after another the last couple of races.
This weekend, we're in Belgium, in the picturesque province of Liège. Halfway through the season, it's too early to call the championship. Can teams make good before the summer break, or will they be hoping for a reset? Spa-Francorchamps is an F1 favourite, consisting of challenging corners, high speeds, and the chance for drivers to really prove themselves. The long lap has different downforce demands, with sectors 1 and 3 requiring pure speed, and sector 2 a twistier and more technical affair. Here we are, the sprint around Spa-Francorchamps. And it's lights out, and
Sprint
away
race,
we go.
a car that's off the pace. Expectations are kind of low. Ferrari starting on top though, not the Red Bulls. Different to see. Looks like one team is already committed to next season and one is still committed to the current season. At least that's how things are looking at the moment. Sargent P15 at the moment, qualified P16. Florsch P20 at the moment. She was there. She's almost on the pace, even though the car's really kind of fallen off a bit. But with softs and a 15-lap sprint race, I don't expect much to happen here. At the tail end here of lap number 2, Sargent up to P14 got around De Vries, had put Sonoda out of DRS range, but in passing De Vries, it might have opened that pathway back up for Sonoda, who seems to be getting within a second here. But we're ready to settle in for the remainder of this sprint race. Expectations are really quite low for a race such as this one. I just want to get through it cleanly. Gio with a problem drops to last place. Lock up turn 18 right at the end. The final hairpin. Not hairpin. Final chicane, that is. Leclerc with a lockup drops to last place. That was a front of the field Ferrari. Florsch ahead of 2 cars now, but 5 seconds off the back and being challenged by both of them. Probably will drop back down the order, but that is good for Sargent, who is up to P12 now. Florsch runs wide briefly, drops back down to last place. 3 laps. Now 2 laps to go. Let's push on for the last 2 laps. Fuel's good. Final lap getting started. Sargent from P12 right now, all over the back of Magnussen and Piastri, well ahead of De Vries. Ready on deploy. Just don't have any spare fuel to make any additional pushes here. So close to getting up to P10, surprisingly. Oh, nice move, nice move. Oh, we're going to get squeezed. What the heck? We pass Magnussen, and we are up alongside Piastri, and then Piastri just runs straight to the edge of the track and blocks us off side by side. We back out of it and lose both positions. Going into the final chicane, we had P10 in the back, or at least P11. Should have been a drag race coming out of the chicane with Piastri, and instead Piastri goes ultra aggressive on the defense and pinches us out, and we lose both spots.
We've got 44 laps ahead of us here in Spa as we get ready for the Belgian Grand Prix. And there's no doubting that Lance Stroll is prepared to put in the hard work.
Starting 4th here is a great position. If the team can get their strategy right, they can bring home some big points.
But there's no more time left. We've got a race on our hands. Get ready, it's the Belgian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
After an unexpected solid performance in the sprint race, Sargent already starting a position higher than he was, as Verstappen picked up big time penalties, 10 grid spots worth of penalties with new components after finishing second in the sprint races right behind us. So you know he'll be coming through here, so we're still virtually P12, and we're still behind Magnussen and Piastri, who we beat out in that last race. Underfueling by just 1 lap this time because it's a long lap, and overall there's just less laps to race. There's only 44 laps here, so Verstappen already gets us before the end of the first lap. Now the idea is to get away from De Vries and stay close enough to contest, and that's not really happening here at the end of lap number 2. We're already a second down. Verstappen's already got around Magnussen. We get this last straight to make sure we have a gap behind and are close enough ahead, and I think we've got that now taken care of. Now we can back off. Softs to mediums, 1 stopper, straightforward, pretty easy day. Piastri should go around, or should be passed by Verstappen quite soon, and our race with those two will commence. We're already pulling away from De Vries, so it's looking like a 10, 11, 12 kind of day. If something happens, and if we can keep our race clean, maybe we can get in the points today, maybe not. Magnussen with the spin on turn 8 here on lap number 5. Gives us one of those places, but it also backs us off. Leclerc coming through the grid. Okay. Leclerc is making his way through the grid from the back, so he also was carrying penalties that I didn't see. One of our 2 challengers is now left behind us. But we are a little over a second behind Piastri, Pourchaire, and Leclerc. We want to try to get back up on those guys if possible. So we're going to go aggressive just for a little bit to see if we can't close that gap. Leclerc has gotten around and moved ahead. So now we're looking at Piastri's pace with Pourchaire for 10, 11, 12. Same sort of thing. Different circumstances, different drivers. And we're not making up that ground. So I think we're going to have to just stay patient for now in P12. Lap 11. Florsch is definitely off the back. Definitely not on the same pace as the others, but she's not crazy far behind. Sonoda with the lockup. And we've gone around
And
Sonoda.
here we've got a yellow flag.
P11. Ooh, and
Now,
there's
we
a
should
crash.
be able to take a look here. Now there's the car of Piastri.
Piastri.
Dangerously close to each other. Oh,
Come
that's
together.
quite an impact between them. And thankfully, after that, it seems the driver...
And we're around Piastri, so the two cars in question that we were behind, this happens just ahead of us, and this is, for the time being anyway, putting us all the way up in P10 and well ahead of Piastri. Also picks up a penalty and is dropping off the pace. He's already 2 seconds back. Well, this is great news. Could we be on for a P10 today? Right now, it's looking like we certainly could be. A little fortunate with mistakes and problems to 3 of those drivers right around our competitive level. And so far, we've managed to keep a clean race. Pourchaire and Piastri both pit early as well. So either they're going to be out on the hards or they're going to have a 2-stopper. Pourchaire on the hards might try to go to the distance, but he's going to lack some pace on the hards. Piastri, meanwhile, is going to have an extra pit stop and has to get around Pourchaire here at some stage as well. Florsch, for now, ahead of both of them. Russell driving off into the sunset in P1. Only a 5-second advantage for now. Sargent 10 seconds behind the cars ahead. We are absolutely not racing with them. It's with the guys behind us. And the gap is 5.5 seconds and counting to now Bottas instead of De Vries as he's gotten around him. 6 seconds ahead of Bottas. Perez into the pits first. Little early. No, he's onto the mediums now. That's awfully early on the mediums. There's a lot of cars out there that are on the mediums already at the moment, which means they might be on the softs, pitting a little later and having some extra pace. That could be a problem for us. Our position is definitely not assured at this stage, but Perez, Magnussen coming through. So Magnussen has recovered quite a bit of ground, surprisingly. Florsch down to last, lap 19. Florsch with a mistake on turn number 1 pushes her further back, but she's recovered from it. Hopefully it's not cost her too much in driver confidence. It's low. It hurt her, but we are on our in lap for both drivers. Sargent under pressure from Perez. Perez already has pit. Pourchaire with crash on turn 9. Well, there you go. There's our competitor once again with another mistake. Sargent already P10, and we're pitting from P10, hoping to get P10 today, and there's plenty of drivers that are close behind us, so we'll see if P10 is still on with the number of drivers having already pit. We're definitely not going to come out of this pit stop in P10. There's a whole group of cars going past. We will be further down the order, at least for a while, but will the undercut give us some extra pace? Let us get forward. 2.57, decent stop. No time loss in the pits. Florsch will also pit this lap, and as she comes into that final chicane, she heads down pit road. Good stop, 2.458. Good stop for both drivers. Okay, we are nearly up to temperature. Push on until we get there. Alright, so Sargent P14. In one lap, we closed up a second on Albon and got within DRS range. So that happened pretty quick. Albon, meanwhile, is on 48% used mediums, and all the 4 cars just ahead of me are on a similar situation. They are on the used mediums, and we definitely have extra pace compared to them right now. Let's hope that we can get past Albon pretty quickly here and not get held up behind him for long, as we're seeing more cars at the front of the field pushing now. Fuel recovery is happening at a decent pace here. I'm not too worried about, we might not have to do any lift and coast, but we are going to go aggressive here. We're going to overtake before turn 1. Overtaking before turn 1. Will we have the ability to pull away and get him out of DRS? I'm hoping we can. I doubt it here. He's going to have DRS here and close back up on us, but as long as he doesn't re-overtake us, we should then be able to pull away. So keeping an eye on the gap at 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. It's going up pretty quick. 0.7. And 1 second. So we do get him out of DRS very quickly. Got the overtake done. We held him off, and we get him out of DRS range. So now the next target, Gio, Bottas. We're going to want to get those 3 guys ahead of us, including Magnussen, who have yet to pit. So how much progress can we make on these guys before they pit? Because they're going to be coming on back towards us. Definitely at the tail end of the race. Lap 24, nearly half a race to go, but we are done with pit stops. Let's hope we can keep things clean, and we are closing the gap on those guys ahead of us. I'll see when we catch up to them, or when they decide to pit and get out of our way. Which should happen relatively soon, actually. Which means our pace advantage will be gone at that point. Verstappen into the pits. Norris into the pits. It's time. Stroll into the pits. Albon into the pits. Magnussen into the pits. We're back up to P12. Now it's just Bottas, Gio ahead of us that have yet to pit. Will they pit on the next lap? And we were just 1.5 seconds behind one of them, Giovinazzi, out of the way. Now just Bottas ahead, who has yet to pit. And we are within a second of him now. And in P11. If he doesn't pit here, we'll definitely have DRS. And should be able to make an overtake. Which puts us virtually a full pit stop ahead of him. And he peels off into the pits. Do we get DRS? Yes. So at least we get a little bonus there before he dives off into the pits. We won't have it here. Pit straightaway is much shorter. Alright, now we're 15 seconds behind anybody else ahead. Checking in on pit stops. Everybody's made 1. Pourchaire has made 2. Florsch is P19. Lap 28 of 44. Those ahead of us on the softs. Those behind us, Tsunoda, De Vries on mediums that are a bit more used than what we have. Magnussen, we want to keep an eye on softs. So, last lap. We are faster than Tsunoda and De Vries, just barely. Magnussen, 2.5 seconds faster on those brand new softs. 2.5 seconds. Let's see what this lap looks like. Still faster than Tsunoda, De Vries. Magnussen still faster than us. By more than a second. 1.2 faster. So he's definitely coming back at us. So now, the gap. 4 seconds to Tsunoda, slowly pulling away from him and De Vries. Magnussen, the more worrying one. Magnussen, just 5.5 seconds down is all. He's going to be the difference between whether we get P10 or P11, as long as we may remain mistake-free the rest of the way. We've got a nice full battery to try to defend with. Fuel's not too bad off. We need to be recovering 0.1 per lap with 15 laps and 1.5 to go. So we'll keep an eye on that for a lap or two and see if we are gaining 0.1 per lap. Tires are fine. The guys behind us pit earlier than we did, so we'll have an advantage over them, but Magnussen has caught them. How long will they hold up Magnussen? Magnussen gets around De Vries on lap 32, and same lap gets around Tsunoda and is just 2 seconds behind me. Yeah, I don't think I'm holding him off. He's already just 0.5 down. Already just 0.5 behind. Now, those softs are wearing down pretty quick. So it might not be a done deal yet. His pace advantage is going to be gone relatively soon. But can we stay with him? He's going to pass me. He passes me into turn 1. But can we stay with him now? And will we be able to come back at him at the end of the race to get P10 and get points one more time this season? Okay, we are staying within DRS range. That's going to be the important thing here. He might be faster right now on softs that are now similarly worn to our mediums, which means as we go through these final laps, he's going to be a lot more worn. He's going to fall off that cliff, and we'll be able to come back. So as long as we can use the DRS to stay with his pace, pull away from Tsunoda and Giovinazzi, as he gets weaker, we should be able to overtake him. I mean, 0.3 behind him now. 1.2 on the fuel. That's the one to keep an eye on. It's not recovering fast enough. So we will have to lift and coast. So not only do we have to deal with this Magnussen situation, but we will have to lift and coast a little bit. Let's do some of that now. Just keep that eye. Okay, that part's looking good. Gio's almost 10 seconds down. Now just 0.7. That is helping us recover it pretty quick. 6/10. Florsch is ahead of Porsche, by the way.
Okay,
Multiple cars have crashed.
Be careful on start
It's
finish.
Joe.
A lot of debris.
So it's at the back of the
we're down
grid.
at turn
Joe could have stayed closer to the
Just
apex
like
on the
that,
inside,
the
but
hopes
the
of
Alfa Romeo looked to be largely the blame on that one. Okay, I'm at 4/10. Almost got the fuel. Almost got the fuel right. I'm at 54%. How's Anderson looking? Yeah, just 47. Just 47. I think we're still on for P10. Just not the easiest P10 we're going to get. 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go. I do not want to necessarily pass him yet. So we've got Aston Martin. That's Porsche. Then again, he's going to get DRS, but the blue flags he'll get out of the way here during this lap. It's the next lap that I want to make the overtake happen on, so setting that up. 6/10 behind, so let's start pushing. We're not going to get the overtake done here from 6/10 down. Okay. But we can get it done right here. This is where we want it to be. This is where we want it to be, through Eau Rouge. With DRS, full attack, look at the inside, and we do get up the inside, and we do get the overtake done. Right place, right time, no more DRS. Ready 4/10 ahead. Let's just go aggressive and not crazy. Verstappen takes a win ahead of Russell. Leclerc, he does overcome the penalty that put him behind us at the race start, but Ferrari both on the podium. Gasly, Ocon, Sainz only P6 today.
Check your flag.
Florsch takes 19th,
Sorry, difficult today.
beats car, but is 44 seconds behind the next car, so not exactly a great day. 7/10 ahead of Magnussen, though. Looks like a done deal. Final 2 corners. Sargent will come around and collect 1 point for today. P10. Very good result. Unexpected that we were going to get any more points this season. Sargent still P10 in the driver's standings, way behind Gasly now. Gasly picked up 18 points today. 4th place finish for Gasly. Oh, okay. Right. The sprint weekend. He also picked up additional points there. That makes more sense. I was like, how did he get 18? He wasn't on the podium. He was almost on the podium. Plus the sprint race. We only pick up 1. I think more likely we're going to finish P12 without the car development. Porsche, Piastri are almost certainly going to finish ahead of us. I would hope that we can hold off Magnussen, but he's bound to score points in the McLaren. And then just, these guys inching their way along, they'll have more points, but I doubt that they're going to get anywhere near 30. And that's kind of the thing. We're way behind Alpine, but we're way ahead of the other 3. The other 3 have all scored points now. AlphaTauri have 2. Haas has 2. Alfa Romeo have 4. And they're bound to pick up some more, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere near our 30. So P7 seems a lock in the constructors. We're definitely not going forward, but it doesn't look like we're going backward either. None of those 3 teams are emerging as consistent points finishers right now with half a season to go. Less than half a season now, actually. Florsch, quick pit stop, picks up 6 points for 7th quickest on the day, but we are still just 9th in the team standings for that. 35 points, 4 behind Haas, 10 ahead of Alfa Romeo. But I focused on making less mistakes, and less mistakes there have been. 1, 2 all season is it from the team. We've kept nice clean pit stops that have helped us over and over again. Mid-season board review, and they're happy, so we get an extra 1.5 million. Another month has gone by. We've got a couple weeks until we come back from the mid-season break, defending for Sargent and breaking each +1 for Florsch. Patrol +1, almost to 70. That's big progress for her. Defending +2. That's going to be a useful one. She doesn't need overtaking. What we're going to eventually need is her having okay pace and having a quick car and being able to hold other cars off behind her. We don't need her to fight her way through the grid. We need her to be able to hold off. If we can give her a rocket ship, something fast enough, as long as she can stop others from overtaking her, she could stay at the front. It's the setting her up to get her there in the first place part that's a long ways off, but she's starting to get a few acceptable attributes. The smoothness is, comfortably at 76 now, so she's good on tires. The adaptability is certainly good. She's good in wet weather. She can't overtake anyone for the life of her. She has bad reactions, cornering and braking, but at least it's all over 50 now. At a couple high 60s, almost 70s. I'm loving this manage the pit crew, micromanage the pit crew by yourself tactic, because it's really working out. By the end of this month, which we have the summer break, but it's still a month with 2 races. So don't forget that. It's still a month with 2 races in it. We're going to finish the month on 4% fatigue and balance it all month long. We're going to finish the month with a +1 in jacks, tires on and off, +2 in wheel gun, car release, positive but 0, car building, even a +1. And likewise, gain 0.01 in the pit stop, but more than that, it's really 0.13 by the end of the month. Not massive, it's not substantial gains, but it gets us faster. And we are really setting ourselves up for just fewer mistakes. We focused so heavily on bringing pit stop times down a year ago that we did not get gains in the pit crew attributes. This year it's different. We had everything at the end of last year, outside of the car release. Everything was in the low 60s or in the high 50s. And then took a -5, -6. We've more than made that up across the board. Everything is better than where it finished last year. Car release is better than where it finished last year. Car building is a point better. I think it was a 42 at the end of last season, or it was a 43 either way. It's about where it was anyway. So we've improved all the others and already made up the pit stop time that we had. I mean, we're close to where we were on that one last year. It's the only one lagging behind a little bit, but mistakes are fewer, far between, and we're managing well. We're going to go into next month without fatigue. That's one thing, though, that I don't monitor closely enough to see how it changes over the course of a month. You might have to go in and make adjustments, but you can see that this month, unlike previous months, we're getting a lot more focus on that gym training to start bringing those pit stop times down, and I'm looking forward to seeing that impacting the second half of the season in a good way.
Hello, and a very warm welcome as we prepare for the Dutch Grand Prix. We're back from the summer break with topped-up tans. Vacation, though, is now over, and it's time to get serious on the track for the second half of the F1 season. To carry speed through the steep banking of Zandvoort, teams will need to be loading downforce onto their cars this weekend. Zandvoort has the second shortest lap time of the whole F1 season, and the track tolerates no mistakes. Get ready for some fighting between the sand dunes here at the Dutch Grand Prix. This race should be a good chance to see what Valtteri Bottas can manage.
I don't think there'll be many expecting them to mount a challenge from P19, but I wouldn't discount their chances.
But just what will happen here, your guess is as good as mine. Here we go. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Back from the summer break, and I suspect that the other teams are going to be even faster, even further beyond where we are, again, as we are not putting anything new into this year's car. So Sargent qualifies P15, Florsch last actually was P16 that he qualified, so he got a good takeoff despite being on mediums. Okay, so Sargent from P15, nice place to be. I don't think too many cars are going to be on the mediums to start. There's a few, but it's definitely not the preferred strategy. I'm preferring to be a little bit faster towards the end of the race and hope to hang in there by being under-fueled by a couple of laps early on, and then using that pace advantage later on to make some progress beyond where we're at. We've already gained 1 offline, which is great, but now can we set ourselves up to be fast enough to get somewhere later on? Right now, field is still closely bunched. Albin and Flourish well off the back, but other than that, the gap from, what is it,
Contact at
5th
turn 1.
to like
Potential
18th
debris,
is
on
close.
track.
And with a close field, that means we have some on-track battles that are leading to mistakes. The AlphaTauri, the Haas, and the Alfa Romeo slightly impacted by it, not in the accident itself, but definitely loses some ground there. That happened behind us. So that is the next 3 cars, Zhou, Bottas, Giovinazzi, who are all involved in that. Zhou and Giovinazzi in particular, Bottas just losing a couple of seconds, and Gio picks up the penalty for the mistake. But checking in on lap 14, we are in the same position. The situation really has not changed much at all, other than Bottas got forward. Giovinazzi pit, comes out in last place. Bottas on his own, a couple seconds behind. Zhou into the pits now. Flourish, her pit stop should be coming fairly soon here. Sonoda and De Vries both on the softs, now fairly worn, 39-42% for them respectively. Sargent has just dropped below the 60% threshold and been able to overtake both of them as Flourish makes a mistake, locks up on turn number 1. She's very close to that pit stop time, but this is good for us. She's coming up on a tire wear warning. She'll have to go a couple more laps. But Sargent making forward progress, still on the mediums, because those guys, A, didn't have enough pace to pull away from us, and B, have fallen off that proverbial cliff. Sargent battling Magnussen for position. They're both on the mediums. That's good. Flourish is now heading down pit road. Looked like she had a problem there. Did she? I didn't see anything a moment ago. 2.694. But looked like she might have punctured on pit road itself. Yeah, she did. She did. On her in lap, she punctured. Plenty of cars that have yet to pit. We're battling back and forth here with Magnussen for P10 and 11, but quite a few of the cars behind me have already performed that first pit stop and are behind us. Not down to a pace thing, but down to a they've pit thing. Flourish about to get lapped, and his blue flags start kicking in. There's going to be a lot of those blue flags, and that really puts her off, but we are entering our pit window for Sargent here on lap 28. Softs the rest of the way is the plan. So far, so good on our plan. Pace is not great right now. We are down a little bit. Definitely don't have a representative pace towards these guys, but it's not crazy far off the pace. It's just off the pace. We are now the last car still out. One more lap to go. Let's go ahead and go aggressive. And our pace is definitely hurting right now. Trying to stretch. Trying to get us to that point. But this should be the slowest we are all race long. Sargent coming around the final corner. Preparing to head down pit road for the first stop of 2 on the day. Only P10 at the time. And we were definitely off the pace. That final 5 laps or so. 2.473. Great stop. Really making some progress. Zhou already pitting a second time. Giovinazzi already pitting a second time. So that's surprising. But we come back out in P16, now looking to progress from here on out the rest of the way, making forward progress, not backward progress. We are not too far behind Bottas. We are well ahead of Albin. Sonoda, De Vries aren't that far ahead of us, but I was ahead of them before their stop, so extending that stint. But being on the softs, we should have better pace, especially in a lot of open air, as the field spread is pretty big. Taking a quick look, who's on what? De Vries and Sonoda on that medium stint right now. Bottas on 66% right now. We've got a real advantage over them on a very, very different strategy that should see us faster more often than not outside of those last few laps of each stint. And everyone at the end of the race will probably be on a similar situation on that final one. So we really only have to contend with a few more laps in this race where we are significantly slower than the pace one would want to be at. So how fast can we move forward and make up ground? To Magnussen, we're talking about 15 seconds. It's much closer to De Vries and Tsunoda and Bottas, which Bottas is already now just over a second ahead. We have covered that gap pretty quickly to him. We're a lot faster than these three ahead of us. This lap, we are already now just half a second behind. And with our first DRS, we close right up on him, and we should have an overtake done here without doing anything special as we come around the final corner and open it up. Oh, come on. Sargent, you're intentionally lifting, braking, not making the push. We're going to have to do it this lap with help, I suppose. We'll be aggressive and try to make the overtake happen. That should have happened organically quite easily. I mean, we should have cruised away from him and already be up on the back of Tsunoda, who's not that far ahead. To the inside, he's going right down the middle, and we do the same flippin' thing as last lap. And yet, here we are now, right up on Tsunoda. He's going to start getting the benefit of DRS on the back of him. Well, this is ridiculous how poorly this has gone for us so far in our attempt to move forward. Easy overtake twice now has been undone through Sargent's inability to overtake a car. Like, we've had huge pace advantage. How we're not getting forward is leaving me dumbfounded. And look who's having no trouble pulling up alongside a car, where we are having nothing but trouble making the easier pass. Of course, now it's not as easy of a pass, as he's got DRS now as well, but Bottas is apparently faster than Tsunoda. Let him get through. He's on the mediums. Oh, come on! Why did you back off? You had one overtake done. Can you overtake this one without an issue? And close back up on Bottas later? So Bottas is on the softs. Oh no, they're just going to keep swapping positions, doing what we couldn't do. It's funny how Bottas did not try to defend that time. He wanted to defend with us. Didn't have a care in the world when it came to Tsunoda. He's just like, yeah, come on through. We're losing time, though. This squabble, this battle. De Vries is only a couple seconds further up. And behind these guys, we've started topping up without really topping up. We just simply are faster now. Really need to be getting second in this line if we're going to actually make forward progress. Run from, well, P14 in the short term, and then P13 once we get around De Vries and are able to drive away from these guys a little bit. But the overheating is a real problem.
Contact at turn 1.
Red flag.
Here we've got the Aston Martin.
Pourchaire was on the
Clear
inside
there.
Not sure
Now
how
their
this is a red
confidence
flag,
will have
but
taken a hit with
that was a Red Bull.
We're ready to get this race underway again.
And we resume racing here with a quick pause to get them to push, like everybody else will here at the start. Mediums to take us to the end.
Okay, reduce lift of coast.
Yeah, copy.
Floor's still on the lead lap, so she's hung on through there. Oh, there's a big mistake. We just lost a huge chunk of wing. Pourchaire Norris, no penalties given. But Sargent is hit there on the rear end.
Now this was at turn 1.
Was he also hit on the inside?
So close. And the contact between the cars?
Yes.
Inevitable.
That's probably Sargent's fault too.
Well,
no penalty given for the incident. We're coming up on the end of that second lap. We've closed back up. We've got guys on softs around us. We're definitely not going to make it the distance. There's only a handful of cars that are going to try it. All right, so mediums with extra pit stops for others to come could move us well up the grid or not. We'll see how it pans out with time, but the fuel's already good to go. It's lap 49 of 72. Double DRS situation as he had lost the train on the AlphaTauris, and Albon and Gio both go past him, and not only did they go past him, but they left him well behind. Perez comes out ahead of us. De Vries has already overtaken us. Sargent doesn't have the pace. He does not have the pace here. So as we are approaching the end of this race, it doesn't say that there's damage, but he is well off the pace. Not a lot of cars pit there. We're looking at Zhou at 21%, 19%. Like, how are they not puncturing? How are they not crawling around? Like, he's only a second off the pace. We've gone to that point, and we were 3, 4, 5 seconds off the pace, and then would puncture. How they are making it, I don't know. I do not know. Such a strange finish to the race that the other cars are doing something that we've not been able to do. Doing it without losing pace. Guys are at 15% and still running just fine. Verstappen takes the win ahead of Leclerc and Sainz. Then Gasly, so another strong finish for the Alpine. The good news for us is that means Alpine is continued working on this year's car. That's going to make them slow for next year. Haas has definitely continued working on the car. They've been stronger of late. The AlphaTauris, the Alfa Romeos have been slow. Bottas, though, picks up a point today for Alfa Romeo. Strange finish. Really strange finish.
17.
Yeah, only a single pit stop down the stretch leaves us not only pointless, but very much at the back of the grid. Verstappen is comfortable in the Drivers' Championship. Sargent still in 10th. No change in the Constructors. Alfa Romeo pick up their 5th point, but that's 25 behind us. That's going to do it for this episode, though, of Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.